All right, so here's a question for you. How can we take the most difficult, even heartbreaking moments of our lives and use them to create something meaningful? Look, the world can be harsh. It can be filled with unfairness and moments that leave us questioning, well, everything. But must we be defined by these moments alone? Or can we choose to turn them into opportunities for growth, strength, and impact? Take Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. Amidst unimaginable suffering in concentration camps, he found meaning in the very act of enduring. His experience led him to write Man's Search for Meaning, a work that has inspired millions to find purpose even in the darkest of times. So in this video, I want to talk about the fork in the road that appears immediately after something terrible happens. Do we lean into the hardship and pain, or do we do what Viktor Frankl did and use it as an opportunity to redefine what happens next in a reparative light that illuminates the path and doesn't darken it? Now, let me start by being abundantly clear. We absolutely need to sympathize with and support those who suffer abuse, neglect, and harm. Their experiences deserve acknowledgement, their voices deserve to be heard, and their pain deserves our compassion. But at the same time, it's crucial to explore how we can move beyond these hardships, to transform pain into progress and tragedy into triumph. This isn't about dismissing the severity of life's challenges. It's about recognizing the strength that lies within all of us to rise above them. You see, when we face adversity, we've got a choice. Do we let it break us, or do we let it shape us into something stronger, wiser, and more resilient? And history is full of examples of people who've turned immense suffering into remarkable achievements. Their stories remind us that while hardship may be unavoidable, it doesn't have to be the end of the story. You see, in my mind, there's 5 stages to convert tragedy into something productive. The first step is to acknowledge something crucial. Your circumstances do not have to dictate your future. Now, sure, life may have dealt you a hand that looks more like a losing lottery ticket than a royal flush, but here's the truth. You're not powerless. Take people like Malala Yousafzai, who was shot for going to school. She went on to become a global advocate for education. Or take Oprah Winfrey, who rose from poverty and abuse to become, well, Oprah. These individuals didn't let their circumstances pin them to the floor.
If you look at every single crisis, difficulty, challenge, every joy-filled moment that comes into your being, everything is there showing up to make you more of who you were meant to be.
And it's not just the big names. Think of the countless entrepreneurs, artists, and just everyday people who've used their challenges as fuel. Take, for example, Vujicic, who was born without any arms and legs, went on to become a motivational speaker and author. And his message, your limitations are only as strong as you allow them to be. So ask yourself, are you reacting to your challenges, or are you acting in spite of them?
There are some things in life that are out of your control that you can't change, and you got to live with. The choice that we have, though, is either to give up or keep on going.
Oh, and real quick, if you're new around here, my name is Jono, and I've helped hundreds of companies and thousands of people build thriving audiences, fans, and communities. All right, so now, step number 2 is to reframe challenges as opportunities. Here's the thing about obstacles. They're the best training ground for creativity. Earlier in my career, I totally whiffed a keynote in front of about 3,000 people. It was awful. Now, sure, it was embarrassing, it was humiliating, but as I walked out of the room with my head hung in shame, my friend Stephen came up to me and he helped me to realize that this was actually a blunt opportunity to take a magnifying glass to what went wrong, to figure out how to fix it and avoid the same thing happening again. Now, a great example of someone turning a challenge into an opportunity is Sara Blakely, the founder of Spanx. She started her empire with $5,000 and an idea born out of frustration with women's undergarments. Now, instead of wallowing in complaints, she turned her frustration into a solution. And that's the trick. Stop asking, why me? And ask, what now? Your challenges can either be roadblocks or springboards, and you get to decide.
She says to succeed, ask yourself why you're doing it.
For me, I'm doing this on behalf of the women that came before me that didn't have this chance, or women around the world that still don't have this chance.
And let's not forget Vera Wang, who didn't enter the fashion industry until her 40s, after failing to make the US Olympic figure skating team and being passed over for the editor-in-chief role at Vogue. Each setback wasn't an end. It was a redirection, leading her to become one of the most renowned designers in the world.
Behind every perceived success is always some very significant failure. And failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue.
The key is to view your obstacles not as insurmountable walls, but as puzzle pieces waiting to be solved. Now, the third step here is to build resilience, and that is a skill. You see, resilience isn't some mystical trait reserved for Navy SEALs and marathon runners. It's a skill. It's one that you build by showing up, failing, and trying again. Take Bethany Hamilton, for instance. After losing her arm in a shark attack at just 13 years old, she didn't let it stop her from pursuing her passion for surfing. In fact, she went on to win national championships and inspire millions with her determination. Her story proves that even in the face of life-altering setbacks, it's possible to turn challenges into triumphs and inspire others in the process.
It's amazing to see how an obstacle can turn your life upside down, but turn into something totally awesome.
And resilience doesn't always mean grand gestures. Sometimes it's just getting out of bed on the toughest of days or sending that one more email after a string of rejections. Now, I had this experience when I first moved to America. I literally never exercised a day in my life. I never grew up around people who would exercise. So when my wife encouraged me to get into a healthy habit of working out each week, it was really, really hard. Now, sure, the physical work was kind of hard, but the hardest part was really the mental work. I just didn't see in my head that I was that guy who would work out every week. But honestly, that was just laziness and fear speaking on my part. So I started out by just trying to do 2 10-minute sessions a week. And then a little while later, I tried to do 3 10-minute sessions a week. Bit by bit, over the course of years, I built that resilience. And now exercise is a weekly habit, but I needed the self-belief that I could do it. And this rather conveniently leads us to our next step, which is to seek out allies, but not echo chambers. Let me be clear, support in all of this is essential, but there's a huge difference between a support network and an echo chamber. We should absolutely surround ourselves with people who challenge us, inspire us, but here's the key, we also need these people to push us to be better. A brilliant example of this is Maya Angelou. She endured a traumatic childhood marked by abuse and hardship, but she rose to become one of the most celebrated poets and activists of our time. Along the way, she sought out mentors who encouraged her voice and her vision, and it proved that the right support can help you soar way beyond even the darkest of circumstances. And that's what good allies do. They back you up while inspiring you to reach higher.
History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream.
But finding the right allies isn't always easy. It requires discernment. You need to look for people who've walked a similar path, but who can also offer both empathy and honest critique. But be careful, because every day I see social media posts of people seemingly being supportive allies, but all they're really doing is validating their friends and colleagues to stay put and not move forward. What we really need are cheerleaders who both celebrate where we are right now, but also encourage us to stay on the journey. And this leads us to our 5th and final step, which is to celebrate progress every step of the way. Now, this one might sting a little bit. While it's vital to acknowledge and support those who were either born with or suffer hardships, we must also champion their capacity to rise above. In my mind, the goal here is to recognize and honor their experiences, but without letting those experiences define them entirely. We've got to shift the narrative towards celebrating resilience and progress, recognizing both the hardship and the extraordinary strength it can build. For example, take the Paralympic Games. These athletes are the epitome of triumph over adversity. They remind us that while our struggles may shape us, they don't define us. And it's not just about the grand successes. Celebrate the small wins too. Did you make it through a tough meeting? Great. Did you finally tackle that daunting project? Even better. Progress is progress, no matter the scale, and it deserves recognition. And I think sometimes what we need to do here in our quiet moments is to ask ourselves the question, what if we spent less time lamenting the problem and more time trying to solve it? And I think for some folks, and myself included in the past, we can get ourselves into the habit of spending more time lamenting the problem than actually trying to solve it. All right, so let's wrap this up, and I'm going to be blunt with you. Look, the world doesn't owe you success. But the good news is, it doesn't deny you the chance to create it either. Whether you're facing inequality, financial hardship, or just plain old bad luck, the path is yours to carve out. Now, the journey won't be easy. There'll be setbacks, failures, and moments of doubt, but those are not the end of your story. They're just chapters in a book that's still being written. And in that book, there's going to be a lot of failure. That's part of the journey, right? And if you go and check out this video next, I'm going to walk you through what I've learned around how to react to failure, how to understand it, and how to turn it into something that's really useful. So go check that video out next, and I'll see you there.